On the last episode, you saw me unbox the Ninebot Gokart Pro. Today though, things are a little bit more interesting because we're going to be taking it drifting. And if we're talking about drifting karts, well, there's really only one place to go. This is the brand new Blastacars track at Gamuda Cove, and if you've ever tried drift karting in Malaysia before, you would have probably heard of Blastacars. This is their newest and most epic track yet. You see, this is the only drift kart track in the world to feature a bridge and tunnel. What this means is that you get a pretty steep uphill climb section as well as an epic downhill hairpin just before the finish. I mean, to be honest, this hairpin looks like it was ripped straight out of Initial D. Only thing is that you can't jump the hairpin. The point is that this will be quite the challenging track for our little go-kart, so we figured that, this will be a nice place to test it out. But before we get started, here are some of the key specs. The Ninebot Gokart Pro is powered by two electric motors that can send up to 4,800 watts of power to the rear wheels. Well, I say rear wheels, but I really mean the hoverboard max unit in the back that the kart sits on. Its 0 to 100 time doesn't exist because this kart tops out at 37 kilometers per hour. But thanks to a juicy 96 Newton meters of torque, it accelerates at 1.02 G, which is nuts. It feels like your head is about to rip off when you floor the Go Faster pedal. It also weighs about 50 kilograms and can take a payload of about 100 kilograms. Range, on the other hand, is rated at up to 25 kilometers on a single charge, but it takes like 4 hours to charge. That meant we realistically only had one charge to work with that day. So to make sure that we would have the best chance at being able to drift this kart, we decided to get a little bit of practice on the actual petrol drift karts. Before things got too heated though, I decided to get some tips from the founder and CEO of Blastacars Malaysia and drift kart master himself, John Wong. So let's say I'm approaching a corner, right? What do I need to do?
Basically, you don't really need to slow down. There's a few techniques for you to initiate a drift. First is throttle control. Second is your counter steer, steering control. Then the lastly is weight transfer. You need to know how to drift into the corner. In order to for you to drift into the corner, before you hit the corner, you need to steer another anti-direction. Okay, steer out of the corner, then immediately you turn into the corner, full throttle. Then after that, you throw your steering, so it's called the counter steer part. Then you have to use your throttle to control your angle.
Sounds simple enough. Once I got into the kart though, well... Obviously, the only part that I really understood was the first part of Drift Kart Yoda's advice.
Basically, you don't really need to slow down. Eventually though, we started to get the hang of it. You really have to abandon all thought of using the brake and focus entirely on working that throttle and the steering wheel. Don't get me wrong, I never got super good at it or anything like that, but I did improve from crashing at every corner to just crashing maybe once a lap. Eventually though, it was time for us to hop into the Ninebot Gokart Pro.
But switching from the petrol kart to the electric kart is a lot scarier than just jumping from being powered by prehistoric animals to being powered by electricity. For starters, due to the nature of the motors, these karts responded very differently. The electric kart is also much lighter than the petrol kart, but the scariest thing of all is the fact that the Gokart Pro doesn't have any bumpers. That means if we were to crash into the barriers the way we did with the petrol kart, the electric kart probably won't survive. But we came here to kick butt and drift electric karts, and we're all out of butts. Sure enough, the Ninebot Gokart Pro handles completely differently from the petrol drift karts. The instant torque and lightweight frame lets the go-kart bounce off the line like a grasshopper. The steering input is also way sharper and more direct on the Ninebot, so it darts through corners unlike the lumbering petrol kart. And yes, although the petrol kart has a lot more power than the electric kart, because the petrol kart is powered by a 390cc engine, while the Ninebot has an equivalent 150cc engine, the light weight actually allows the Ninebot to tackle the course with little to no issues too. But the Ninebot doesn't really drift, not in the way that the petrol kart does anyway. Instead, it does more like a power slide, where you can kick the tail out as soon as you exit a corner. It doesn't hold the slide the way that the petrol kart does, and you can't do what the experts call a Scandinavian flick, which is crucial when tackling sharp corners sideways. On top of that, a lot of the weight of the kart is at the rear of the vehicle. The engine is at the back, and you also sit in the back, so that means that during acceleration you have little to no weight on the front wheels because all of that weight is shifted to the back. That means you have very little grip in the front wheels, resulting in a lot of understeer, which is not what you want when trying to drift.
When it comes to drifting, I think the drift kart is much more controllable and enjoyable in terms of moving it around lah.
Controllable lah. I saw quite out of control just now lah.
I mean, the handling is really different. Obviously, it's super twitchy, so every time I just turn the wheel a little bit, it flings itself to the left. Also because the Ninebot is not mine, and I don't want to damage it because it belongs to somebody else, so I was a little bit scared about the Ninebot.
Even when we handed the wheel over to master drifter John himself and turned the drift all the way up to 100%, he was still having the same problems.
I cannot say it drift, you can skid a little bit, then after that, there's a lot of steering work, and the throttle works. Honestly, the kart has good amount of torque, okay, but the problem is the weight distribution of the kart itself is more to the back, so it biases to the back, so the front is a little bit lifted, then it has very minimal grip in the front. That's why it just keep understeer.
Just to see how the Ninebot would stack up to the petrol kart, we decided to have a little hit-to-hit race with Amin in the Ninebot and John in the petrol kart. And surprisingly, the Ninebot was able to keep up really well. It was super nimble through corners and had plenty of acceleration even going up the hill. But I mean, I also think that John was going a little easy on us, because I think that if we really went all out, the petrol kart would drift circles around the Ninebot. Literally. Okay, so the Ninebot Gokart Pro isn't really a drift kart per se. It has a lot of understeering problems, and it also looks really fragile, so you've got to be extra careful even on a track like this. But my biggest problem with the go-kart was its battery. Although the Ninebot is rated up to 25 kilometers, when we were going all out on this track, we were only able to get a little over 10 laps in before the battery gave out. That translates to about 10 to 15 minutes of use time, which would be okay if not for the fact that it will then take you over 4 hours to fully recharge the kart. There also isn't a removable battery, so you can't just swap the old one out for a fresh battery. Then there's also the fact that while you get full access to the Ninebot's performance when the battery is full, the performance steadily drops off as the charge gets lower. By our final few laps, the Ninebot Gokart Pro was struggling to even get up the hill, let alone maintain any kind of slide around the track. Once again, the biggest problem with battery-powered vehicles is the battery. And that's a shame because there is a lot to like about the electric motor, especially that incredible torque. But with battery technology where it is right now, this whole short use time and long recharge time isn't something that we can really run away from. And I think no matter how fast people develop fast charging, I don't think it will ever be as fast as just filling up your petrol tank. So now that we've had all that fun, it's time to answer the 6,888 ringgit question. Should you buy this? Well, to answer that, let's look at three things. Is it fun? Is it easy to maintain? And is it practical? I think we all agree here that after spending about a day at the track, the Ninebot Gokart Pro is definitely fun. The acceleration is addictive, and being able to kick out the tail when you exit corners is definitely a lot of fun. You can also tune the handling for the Gokart Pro in the app to have it more biased towards oversteer or understeer. Plus, I also think it looks pretty cool, kind of like in a cute, angry little sports car kind of way. Plus, there's even a Lamborghini edition. Regarding maintenance, we got this go-kart from local retailer Scooterz. They also have an in-house service center for after-sales repair and maintenance, so there shouldn't be much of a problem there beyond cost. Finally, is it practical? Well, I'll say this. There's certainly a case to be made that the Ninebot hoverboard that powers the go-kart is practical. It's one of those last-mile vehicles that is just much smaller than a scooter and far more maneuverable. But the whole Gokart Pro? Well, I think that's ultimately just a toy, and at 6,888 ringgit, that's quite an expensive toy for a very limited use case. For that money, I think I'd rather just buy the hoverboard part, something like a Ninebot S or a Mini Pro, and then spend the balance on petrol drift kart sessions at Blastacars. Because those petrol-powered drift karts, they're just so much fun to thrash worry-free around an epic track. And that's it for this video and the whole series. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, click on the notification bell icon, like us on Facebook. But our home on the internet will always be at searchandshare.com. Also, do you want to see a review of just the hoverboard section, the Ninebot hoverboard thing, as like a personal mobility device and like a last mile kind of vehicle? Let me know in the comments below, because if you do, then I will just ask Ray over there to go and review and let you know. Alright, also if you want to see us do more of these kinds of videos, make sure to let me know that in the comments section below too. But lastly, I'm just so glad that all of you are watching. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye. Oh wait, details, if you want to buy one of these things, is in the comment section below, so you can go there and see and click on the links, and yeah, okay, that's it. Okay, bye-bye. Go away.